Okay, folks, we're back. Thanks for sitting tight. So I have with me Mecron from Kerberos Studios here to give us some Pit 2 news and just discuss open-ended what's going on with Pit 2 and what we all hope for and what it might be and what we're what we can do to help, things like that. And I did want to get Mecron here with on the camera next to me, but unfortunately he's not wearing any pants, so he cannot have his webcam on. But that's just kidding.
To be fair, I am the Lord of No Pants Island, so I have a legal reason to be not wearing pants.
There you go. Chat, does everything look, sound okay? Does Mecron coming out nice and clear? And just want to make sure technically we're good here. I'm going to assume so. All right. Yeah, I'm going to get my notepad open to jot down. So we're not going to get into too much into questions just yet, chat, but in the near future, if you guys have questions for Mecron, just at me, and I'll pick some among them. I'll try not to miss any, and we'll do our best to address them. And all right, so Mecron, what's the scoop with Pit 2? What can we expect?
Well, I mean, it will bring whatever ancient god of your choice to your house every day when you play it to cure you and help you clean up on your housework.
Oh,
What other
amazing!
what other features? That might be PR. I don't know. I thought I'd get the PR lying out of the way right away. um, okay. So, shall we go to the big news right away?
What big news?
The big news about the date of early access.
Well, you said sometime in December, I think.
I lied.
You lied.
I lied.
Excuse me.
Sometimes. I do that sometimes,
I
but
see.
only in a good way.
You
Only do
sinister,
that.
sinister man. You.
Remember, necessary sadism.
Hey man, Pit's all about sadism, man.
That's right. Sometimes you have to play the tech. It's like I'm a lying Vulcan. I don't lie, but I hide in technicality sometimes. So I said by December.
Uh huh.
So technically, next Friday is by December.
What? Next Friday?
The Pit 2 will be in the hands of people who wish access to it early next Friday.
Okay. So, chat, next Friday, early access is accessible for everyone?
Yep. October 22nd. Yes.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot earlier than I thought. Well, that's
Uh-huh.
pretty hype. Nice. Okay, I'll definitely be jumping on that. Oh shit, chat. So why so early? How'd you pull this off? Like, I just shocked that it's this early. Like, when you said December, I was like, oh, that's pretty early. And now it's October. So, what are we expecting to see in the early access, like the
Early
open?
access, you're going to see the form. And the reason, let's go just for the reason for it first. We're about at the point where the code base is getting pretty solid.
Okay.
And we're doing, it's going to be a lot of weeks, and if, to be honest, months of content special casing. As we're all aware, there's a million items with all their own effects. But in terms of you guys and you guys' contributions, now is the time, right? Because if someone say, I think we need more, I don't know, floor traps, right?
Yeah.
Now is the time for that input, right?
Gotcha.
Now is the time where we're experimenting with music. So now is the time like, ooh, that's good. Oh, that sucked,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas all that stuff, once you're closer to being finished, not as easy to back it up.
Gotcha. Oh, I'm sure you're
For
gonna be neck deep in feedback.
sure.
For sure.
For those of you who've checked out the Steam preview page, you notice that we're already asking you guys a bunch of questions, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like for instance, story indicators. It is the time to deeply consider reconfiguring the story as told through messages.
Okay.
Because the Pit 2 is going to evolve to a place far beyond the original Pit. So the original pit, if you look at the evolution of the original pit, it was psionics and then extra characters that both were cool and also kind of fleshed out the SOTS universe if you cared.
Yeah.
But that was the kind of the ultimate goal of the original pit. The pit 2 is starting in the same place, but its ultimate goal is to evolve to a much more not complex, because that's a bad word. Publishers hate it when you use the word complex.
Oh, do they? Yeah. Oh, you don't have to worry about those worries right now, at least.
Yeah. Oh dear God, you do not want to use the word complex at a meeting.
Oh,
Nor do
no,
you want to
yeah.
use the phrase turn-based either, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I heard.
Yeah, you might as well just walk in and it's like, hi, I'm making a game where the player just hits themselves with rocks. Is that okay? Do you want to put some money into that? And the person who's marketing it's like, are we talking real rocks or metaphorical? No, real rocks. We're just going to ship 2 large rocks with hand grips, and that's it. That's all they hear when you say complex and turn-based.
Yeah.
But the goal of this, I don't want to give too much away, ruin too many surprises, but I've said it before that we're going deeper into the SOTSverse.
Mm-hmm.
We will be dealing with multiple facilities,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's so that's where this game ultimately ends up. That's the goal of this game.
Like, if I can make a comparison to the original pit, this could be totally inaccurate, but kind of like biomes in a sense, but the biomes are entirely like a whole new way to play the game, like a new level, not really level, but like a whole new like entry point, like as if you were entering into a biome, and that biome is, I'm not saying it's going to be like a whole new world, but it'll be like, a whole new like set of enemies instead of like modifiers perhaps and stuff like that. Is that kind of like what you're going for? Or is there my way off?
Bigger than that.
Bigger than
Bigger.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Where you will see biomes evolve too, which I already started a chat on what kind of specialty floors people wanted to see. Biomes will evolve, like I said, into a bigger system of specialty floors, right? So you reach the floor in the pit where it's the hangar base, right?
Okay.
You
Just like very open and,
very open, wrecks everywhere,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
A few different kinds of enemies, sort of thing.
Cool.
Yeah, that's the other thing, because we're like, oh, why'd you go 3D? It's like the power to do that sort of thing with, to be honest, less manpower
Yeah.
is much, much better, right? I mean, crafting, I mean, there you go. That's why there wasn't a lot of that sort of thing in the original pit, because it took ages for an artist to handcraft that stuff, right?
What stuff?
And it's
Sorry.
still, so look at a biome, right?
Yeah.
So the world in terms of tools is not particularly trying hard to make sprite-based false 3D angle art easy to do on a large level, right? Not
Gotcha,
in a
okay.
right, not in the level of detail SOTS the pit requires.
Yeah. Okay.
Whereas in a 3D environment, it's more like building a level, right? So you can plunk down assets, you can move them around, right?
Much more flexible in a sense.
Much
Right?
more flexible for a small team, right? Because the
Yeah.
other thing people need to realize is that, thanks to the end of the world for the past year and a half, we're back to being a pretty small team,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So are you like? I mean, it's pretty obvious from the trailer, but it looks like you'll be using pretty much all the Pit Infinity assets for and building upon that a little.
Yeah, above and beyond, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We start with those. And to be honest, that's when everybody, all of y'all folks, the original Pit fans, were like, oh, why are you doing Pit Infinity? It's like, okay, not your thing, I understand, but we're also using it to test bed an awful lot of graphics and, where we go, right? Because that was the decision phase. Can we build up a toolkit that makes it possible to make a really rewarding Pit 2, right?
Yeah, I think
Instead
it's
of just
I think using the Pit Infinity assets are fine. I actually like coming back to playing Pit Infinity just yesterday, and I like it looks nice, and I was having like that's like if Pit 2 uses these graphics and does it well, and I think that'll be just fine. I think it'll be great.
Yep.
I have no no qualms about that. Oh yeah, and on that note, sorry about the bail yesterday. Not the bail,
Oh,
but like I lost track of time. I was streaming, and then
I
we
know.
missed each
Yeah,
other.
yeah. No, I saw you streaming. You were having a good time. Totally
Yeah, so oh,
understandable,
you could
right?
yeah, you should have spoke up. Honestly, I would have been
Yeah.
like but yeah, I would have totally. I got hooked on some silly little anime game. So.
No,
uh,
we could get some pie in anytime.
yeah, right. Good stuff. All right, where do we go from here? Chat. Yeah, if you guys have any questions for Mecron here, make sure to just at me, and I will, screen it and look through it real quickly. But so what can we expect day one of early access? Like, is it going to be, can you run all the way through it, or is it going to be a bit like Pin Infinity, where like it just kind of never ends type thing, or what can we expect?
Day one, you should be able to get to the bottom
Okay.
and to a basic final floor, right? Not the complicated horror show that we're used to. Um,
Yeah.
but right, initially we just want you to get to the bottom, deal with the boss, right? See if you crash out, that sort of thing.
That's a good question. So Left Right asks what the system requirements are. So is it going to be pretty much same line as Pit Infinity probably, or maybe a bit less? What do you think?
Bit less.
A bit less? Okay, because I remember
Bit less.
my old junky thing couldn't run Pit Infinity
Yeah.
very well at all. So
Yeah.
I had to get a video card upgrade. So it's definitely a good ask, but it'll be a bit less. That's good to know. All right.
Yep.
Especially also being turn based. If it doesn't run that great, it's not horrible. It's still unpleasant, but if it's turn based, then it's way less important than first person shooter, of course.
Yep.
What platforms is it? Billy Brotherman asks what platforms is it going to release on?
PC to start with.
Okay.
I mean, it's just y'all gotta know that we don't have like a dedicated Mac dude. We don't have a dedicated Linux dude, right?
Yeah.
So all that stuff has to be afterwards. I realize that's frustrating to people, but it's just the reality of things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would expect the engine and the method we're using is very, especially Mac transition friendly. So I would expect that soon after full release, a Mac version.
Soon after full release. So that's good.
Yeah, yeah, like soon being in game development time, so
Yeah.
within the first 3 to 6 months, sort of
Soon
thing,
as
right?
release word.
Yeah, it's not like the original Pit where we were doing it in XNA and it was like we release and it's like, okay, let's start moving this on. Wait, what? Microsoft dropped support. What? This language doesn't exist anymore.
Oh,
What? Yeah. Oh yeah, no, our whole plan for going out on Xbox and stuff.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
thinking of doing that? Oh, that's kind of cool.
Eventually, right? I mean, this all starts with you people, right? If
Yeah.
it dies in the fold with you guys, then none of this is relevant, and who cares, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's. I mean,
Do you have a loose time frame for how long it's going to stay in early access? Is it going to be one of those eternal early access games like?
Yeah, well, that's what. Yeah, I'm really, to be honest, I'm vexed about what to say about that sort of thing.
Okay.
Because no, it's not. It's not. To give a fuller answer though, people are really weirdly unforgiving about it, right? So the experience on Pi was really educational in the sense of we stayed in early access. We worked really hard, got it to the point where it was good for us, right? But again, small team. And also where the bug reports were like down to 1 a week, right?
Yeah.
Like it just petered out as far as that goes. So we're just like, okay, well, here we go. And then 1,000 people jump in and they find a few more issues. And it's just like, this should have stayed in early access forever. It's like, well, first of all, there was a large contingent saying get it out of early access as soon as possible. And second of all, we weren't going anywhere anymore in early access, right?
Yeah,
So in this case, it's just like, of course, headed to perfection, right? But throughout that time, again, early access is only going to be as rewarding as you guys make it, to be perfectly fair, right?
Yeah.
And early access in silence is quicker because then we're just feature complete, right? And
Yeah.
off we go. It's not going to be forever, right?
Yeah.
By any way.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just because by any means. I mean, um, yeah, oof. Okay. So I'm going to say, in the same way of the less than 6 months.
Less than
Right.
6 months in early access. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's interesting because like I feel like early access is I've seen maybe even a bit more of this in roguelikes, traditional roguelikes. Is that early access can be an eternal state.
Yep.
Like I don't know if you've and not even in a bad way. Like I think eventually the players kind of understand the developers saying that this is an ongoing project and it'll keep getting better and bigger nonstop. So my biggest example of this is like one of my favorite roguelikes, a game called Cogmind. You ever heard of that one?
Yep.
And yeah, that one's been in early access for 4 years. But in
Yeah.
my and I don't like early access, but that when I played that game, I never considered early access in my mind because when I played it in early access 3 years ago or whatever, how long ago, it was like I'm like this game is done, complete, it's done. And I honestly I'm not sure why he still has that tag on. The
Yeah.
game is changing a lot all the time. Like he works really hard on that thing, so I kind of understand on that one. So it's like it's strange to see that philosophy sometimes, and I don't know if I like it, but it doesn't really matter that much. At the end of the day, it's a good, that's an example of a good product and an example of a roguelike that's in early access forever. I think Caves of Cut is another one too. Although that one is I haven't played in a while, but that one feels much less finished. But yeah, early access is a really interesting topic, and it's
It
a tricky
is, right?
one. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the original Pit, right?
Mhm.
I mean, technically, you could say that game was in early access for like 3 more years after that
Yeah,
because we worked
yeah,
nonstop on it, right?
exactly.
Um,
Yeah. So like to make the parallel between that and Cogmine, if you like when you released the Pit, let's say I don't even know if early access was even like fashionable at the time. Was it?
yeah, no,
No, right?
no.
But
We
let's
are
say it was, right?
you want a
Yeah.
so old thing?
Yeah, let's
If
hear
you go
it.
all, if you go all the way back to where we released Fort Zombie,
Yeah.
right? We released that as like, hey, this is a complete experiment. We are doing stuff that we don't know if it can be done, right?
Hmm.
If you so there was no word for early access back then, right? But it's like hi, and it's like, and it was out for like $10, I think, at first, and literally people are like, what are you doing releasing a game for $10? No, no one releases game for $10. It's not a what's going on?
But the
It
price
should be
is low, you mean?
yeah, like
Okay.
no, there was no $10 games back then
Oh,
except
really?
the most rudimentary stuff, right? So it's just like, yeah, if the word early access had been used, we that's the place where we probably would have used it.
Hmm.
Um, that is it as it is now. What we're basically doing is using it as a term for group project, in the sense that y'all don't have to do the work, but if y'all have opinions, now is the time,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because yeah, I don't like changing stuff. Like I think all the Marines should be giant bunnies instead. It's just like yeah, that's not a direction you go after, right? After you release the game. Um,
Yeah. Well, once we see what we're looking at when next Friday, I think
yeah.
we're the feedback and the opinions will be coming in hot, hot
Oh yeah,
heavy.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And the thing to realize, which I've mentioned to a couple people, is that um, content is king for now, and graphics and polish slowly come up, right?
Yeah.
Because those do take. It's interesting because they take more man hours or person hours,
Hmm.
um, but they're lower risk to the game. Like you rarely break the game or introduce a crash because you made the laser shot look prettier, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That is safe. On the other hand, making the laser rifle in the first place is code disruptive, right?
Yeah. Yeah. True. Let's see. Let me go to a few chat questions here. All right, Rhea JJ says you speak of several pits. Between them, will there be choices like going to an abandoned military outpost or the ruined medical complex? So kind of like I think I know what he's saying. There are a lot of games these days really like to lean on these choice situations where like you want to go take a risk and go to this area, or. But my understanding, I think, is you think it's going to be like a whole fresh way to start and play the game. But I'll
Oh
let you
yeah,
answer
yeah,
that.
this is so hard not to give away too much.
Oh, yeah, well, you know what? If you don't want to answer that because you want to
The
keep it
answer to the
surprise, then
answer
I'm
that
totally cool with that. Yeah.
the answer to that question is yes.
All right. All right.
There will
Let's.
be
Yeah.
there will be several pits, but they're not going to be as simple, let's say, as pits as like military outposts and medical complexes, right? Um, but yeah,
Very cool. What on day one of early access? Will there be crafting?
yes, there will be crafting, and
Okay.
someone I think way back up asked about handcrafting. And yes,
What is? I don't even know what that is. Is that like in Pit
um,
Infinity, like crafting
yeah,
out of
it's like
stations?
Pit Infinity. There were certain recipes that we in
Yeah.
Pi. Sorry, I can't do it. Pit Infinity. I remember the rule from last time.
Tianas,
Uh,
Tianas.
exactly. In Pit Infinity, we did bow to the logic of many people from the pit, which is I shouldn't need a table to make a sandwich. It's like fair enough. Right? We
I was
agree.
totally cool with it, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I do like yeah, be able to craft without tables. Like very basic stuff is fine. So I gotta ask this question. This is on my mind a lot. Is the crafting going to be Pit Infinity inspired or a Pit One inspired or something
It's
brand new?
okay. Here's the thing, and actually, I was going to start. Have I started a topic? But there'll be a topic for on the Steam page where we can discuss it in more detail. Right now, what I'm bringing back from Pit Infinity
Mm-hmm.
is the primary components, right? The very simple, basic things.
Yeah.
What I'm adding is everything can be broken down into parts like that.
Oh, I see.
Which, yeah. So one of your guys' greatest gripes about the crafting in the original pit was you have a ton of junk and you don't know what to do with it or whether you're going to need it or you're
Yeah.
hauling it around all the time. So imagine a system where there's still a greatly diverse recipe system with all sorts of different parts, but if you had to, you could break down a quantum capacitor into its basic parts
All right.
and then rebuild those parts into
Something
an
else. Yeah.
optics, right? Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
right.
But at less efficiency, as if
Yeah,
worse
yeah,
efficiency, as if you would find it naturally. I would
right.
presume,
You're
right?
losing ground, and of course, there's roles for it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like the odds for properly breaking down a quantum capacitor are much harder than say breaking down your knife, right? But the point is, you'll be in situations now where if you are one scrap metal away from the thing you really want to craft at the moment, you'll have the choice to break down like your second pistol if you want it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
because crafting in Pit One, I love it. Honestly, in general, I
yeah,
absolutely love it. I could totally understand why some people absolutely hate it. It's not for everyone, but in general, I love Pit One. Obviously, there's still imbalances, but it's to balance all those recipes and all those ingredients is a hell of a challenge. So, in all
Well,
in all, I think it was fantastic. That's one of my favorite
thank you.
aspects of Pit One. I think you guys did a great job there.
I really loved it, and it was really about like an entire world of stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and I love this, and you can tell the exact point where y'all started playing the game a lot because the items and the recipes start leading themselves towards your guys' feedback, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like I wish I could make an assault rifle because I can't find above ground this rifle ammunition. It's like, okay, okay, let's make an AK then. Okay,
Oh, I can't believe you're bringing up the word AK in my chat. Is it just because that achievement you made for the AK is the most ridiculous achievement I've ever seen. I don't know if you're familiar. It's like craft 100
I
AKs.
know. Yeah, and
It's
it's
just kind
there
of a
for
joke for us, but it's like, what the
yeah,
hell are
it's
you thinking, dude?
and actually, you guys are getting the joke. There has to be a Mount Everest in an
Oh,
achievement
that was
somewhere.
on purpose, so like an
Oh
achievement.
God,
It's like,
yeah, it's a
have
Mount
fun,
Everest
nerds.
achievement.
Someone's
Yeah,
done that one achievement legitimately. Like,
yep, and
I like
full
what?
points to them, right?
Like, how many
Well,
runs
if
is that? Because you
yeah,
can't duplicate that one item. It's like,
yeah.
what the
Well,
hell?
because I'm a lazy
Uh,
gamer slob. I'm like, yay, I got the achievement for walking 100 yards. I'm
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Glorious. Right. Let me see if I have another one. Let's see. Will there be mod support? Stufus Optimus asks that.
We are. The game is using Unreal, so if you have access to those tools, it'll be pretty darn moddable. It's still going to parse a lot of text files for its information.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, that's the gateway mod for most pit modifications.
Mm-hmm.
Given this is the other thing, right? It's about people talking about why the change in graphics. It's like this should make inputting or replacing figures much easier, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the long run. So yeah, that is. So yes, there will be modding. I really want to set it up for what's the modding store called again? Steamworks. There we go. And yeah, that's basically that. I will let you get back to the questions before too many of them go by.
No problem, no problem. We're not too far behind. We can take your time. But I got one. So Matrix Discs says, how much improvement in graphics can we expect? Pretty open question.
There'll be lots of refinement. We're early on in things, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that point because one of the hardest hits we took in the pit was how awful the graphics were, right? Like the first bunch of reviewers didn't get it, right? Because of course,
they don't know what
right?
roguelikes are.
Right, but I'm talking about just graphically, right? Like
Yeah,
we
I
got
know.
butchered by some one from Italy or something, right?
Yeah.
That was just harsh, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to people being, as in Matrix, because he's not convinced of the betterment of the thing. It's just like, well, it's interesting between Matrix and what's the name and War Child. You see that interesting clash between not convinced that making it look any different is versus why are you using the same things again, right? It's just like, yeah, that's a very fine line to run, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of graphics, again, right, in terms of refinement, that's another reason for early access, right? If you want to say, I really don't like how the lighting is going, the direction the lighting is going, now's the time, this will be the time to say it, right? Because after release, you can't redo the entire lighting system, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the point, right? On the other hand, sorry, dudes, I'm not gonna throw myself on the swords of, oh, it looks like crap. It's like, it's early beta. Like, you either understand what that means or you don't, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what it comes down to, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
and like I said, we faced this before. It's funny, having memory of older projects, right? Like, it was an uphill fight. That was what was nice when people did get it. It's like, oh, that's a style, right? Or things like now, it's like, yeah, the look has changed. It has to change, right? Therefore, music has to change, right? Music doesn't, it's not like a 8-bit video game anymore, right? That whole sort of thing,
Do you
But
think do you think you would have been successful reusing the assets of Pit 1 for a new game?
Depends on your definition of successful.
Say success.
So
I don't know. That's yeah. I can't.
do you
define
do you
that for
want
you.
do you want me to be perfectly crude?
Well, I think I might know where you're going with this. You may have mentioned
Yeah,
it, but let's
we
hear it.
would have been successful and more successful with less effort for sucking money out of the loyal user base, right?
Yep.
Would that have been ethical or good for the game in the long run? Not really, right? Like, I love your guys' love of the original, but the original is the original, and it's always there to be played, right? Like, I felt really queasy about just, despite the time management of running sprites and stuff. I just, in terms of mechanics, I just felt queasy about going, look, yeah, no one complained. Here's more thing. I guess if we'd put a Pit 2 out like a year after the Pit 1, it would have been like, yeah, sure, right?
Well, to
But
be honest, sorry, I'll cut real short, but I got to be honest, Gold Edition almost felt like Pit 2.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that
To be honest,
was like, whoa,
yeah,
that
yeah,
that
and we were
kind of felt
perfectly
like that.
groovy doing that. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
exactly,
it
right.
was
That was
great.
the
Yeah.
time.
It
But
was Rise, dude.
yeah, you guys have to remember that I'm a like old gamer, so like I carry the scars of getting to like what Red Alert 2 and going what have you been doing for 7 years? Right? Like,
Yeah.
it's the same game. In fact, it's kind of dumber than it was. Like, why? If this was all you were going to do, you could have done this in a weekend. um, so yeah, like I said, we could have, but it just would have been. It just. When I told you, backside, people were like, you should do this in the pit and that in the pit. It's like, you realize we've run the old girl into the dirt, right? Like she's carrying the entire load she can. And to be honest, some of that applies to that look. That look has carried all the weight she can, right? Like, it's in a realm where someone asked before about missed shots and stuff like that. It's like, yep, we're doing missed shots because we actually have a volume to miss in, right? Like a bullet can physically miss a figure and physically hit, a
Something else.
important object behind them, right?
Actually, someone asked about that. I think just
Yeah,
before the stream was like,
yeah,
"Yeah, do you think they'll have shots hitting different things behind them?" And I'm like, probably.
yeah,
There you go. There
yeah.
you go.
Can I answer one thing real quick
Yep. Go ahead.
for Matrix?
Yeah.
Where he says Pit One graphics are absolutely gorgeous, the masterwork. Thank you very much, Matrix. Also, it's the same dude, right? The same guy who did the art for the original one is doing the art now.
No
So
way. Really? Shit.
yeah,
That's awesome.
right.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
That's good to hear.
Chris Gerspatcher, he's our lead artist. He's been. So if you want a reason to trust, yeah, there you go. Because you either have to live in a world where it's like, wow, this guy was a genius now and has a head injury now, and therefore I disagree with him, or
Oh, shit.
he made the right call 10 years ago. He's probably making the right call now.
Nice.
Like,
Oh, that's great to hear.
yeah.
Would you mind telling us a bit more about which staff you still have alongside, not necessarily lames, but roles still with you that are Pit 1 and also working on this project? It's not necessary to answer that, but just throwing it out there.
So I'm just going to be vague about it, right? Because some of that stuff intrudes on people's actual real lives, right? But in terms of what's the same, of course, design is the same because I am a god.
The
And I'm too,
Necronomicon.
and I'm too old to do anything else. Uh, Coding and art, we're talking about lead positions, right?
Yeah.
Are the same, right? And sound and production are the same core people.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
stuff.
sometimes I heartbreak into people because someone will be like, "Oh, why isn't someone recoding this game from like 10 years ago?" And I'm like, "Are you still working the same job you did 10 years ago in the same place? Because that's weird."
Yeah.
So it's like when it comes to knowledge, like someone asked me something about the Sotsverse war game we did, right? And it's just like, when will we be updated? It's like, you realize that person has gone on to another job because they're not chained to a table or anything like that.
Are you talking about ground pounders or the
Ground pounders, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah.
Ground pounders, right? It's like literally none of the programming core that worked on ground pounders is with the company anymore, right?
Right.
And I'm just like, yeah, that's a depressing thought. And it's like, no, it's not. They've learned what they learned and went on to cooler jobs, and now they're in management positions at other places.
There you go. There you go.
Time is, time is time.
Let's see. Asked about crafting. Are there any? I don't know. Questions is whatever. I'll throw it out there. But are there any mechanics that the team disliked or identified that could improve? I mean, that's. Go ahead.
Multiplayer got tossed.
Oh yeah. Multiplayer and turn-based.
Right, exactly for that exact.
I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, sounds very.
For that exact reason.
Yeah.
While publishers were pushing in the real time direction, then multiplayer was on the table, right? And now that it isn't, now that we've decided to go basically with you guys instead of them, that was a sacrifice had to be made. Multiplayer just doesn't work. Um, Other mechanics, we're more in the position of adding mechanics as opposed to subtracting.
Yeah.
I think messaging. I think I want to get a really good pulse from y'all people, right? About that, and lots of opinions, and we can argue about it for about the next month and a half, sort of thing. Right?
What do you think about the messaging system in the first pit?
Um,
About unlocking story elements and recipes in that
yeah,
method.
I really, it wouldn't be there if I wasn't really fond of it, right?
Yeah.
What I wasn't fond of is the fact that it devalued quickly into just looking at the wiki, right?
Yeah.
To me, that's a sign of a mechanic that's not working quite properly, right? Like I still liked it and stuff, and you also have to realize that when you're talking to people on Steam, even Steam or our own boards, you're looking at kind of elite players, a strong player, but you're looking at strong players,
Yeah.
right? And the vast majority of players, A, never say anything, and B, are not elite, right? So they do, play with their messages and stuff like that, and they don't think of checking, right?
Yeah.
Wiki, that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm mildly dissatisfied about that.
About what, the feedback or the system? What do you decide?
This is the fact
Okay.
that, like I said, it turned into people just
Oh,
to play
looking at the
confidently,
wiki. Right.
right?
Gotcha.
And just
Yeah.
that they were being forced to do it, like that was a logical answer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Um,
um,
I'd like to give you some of my own personal feedback on
yes,
the message
please do
system. If you're okay with that.
start the discussion, my friend.
Honestly, I like the system.
Yeah.
I found it pretty exciting to like let's say I have a message that's half deciphered, and then being like,
Yep.
oh, trying to guess what the ingredients are, and sometimes nailing it, and like that was actually a pretty cool feeling. And I'm a person who likes going in blind and stays away from wikis at all. But obviously, I'm not every single player, so it's hard to know which way is good. But my biggest gripe with it was, especially as the game got bigger, your message pool got too big, and it became
Yep.
too hard to nail specific messages because there's like too many of them. So,
Yep.
but what you did, which was good, was that in easy you had a pool of 50, and then that's it. I think you should have expanded on that idea and had easy, a pool of 50, and then normal would be like its own pool again, and then hard would be, the rest or something like that. Because, like, as a new player, I was cool with the messages, but there were also a lot less of them. So it made like the progression of unlocking recipes and messages a lot quicker. But when I could totally understand a player who's new and coming into gold and seeing 400 messages to decipher and be like, no, I want to, I need a little more speed than this. So,
Yeah.
that's my one little feedback on that. But overall, I do like the system, but I could totally understand how a lot of people do not like it and just want to check the wiki. And
Yeah.
that's that.
Yeah. So that resolves it down to like, okay, should we make the decipher role the entire message, right?
Yeah, either you get it all or you don't.
Or you don't.
Yeah.
Right?
That
So
kind of takes away the fun that I had of guessing.
I know,
And I
right?
like that.
And then
I thought that was cool.
I know. I really liked it too, and I liked the guessing. On the other hand, if you allow guessing, then you just open up to I'm going to the wiki, right?
Yeah, I guess. Maybe I'm like one of the few players who really liked the guessing aspect of it.
Yeah.
And
So-
didn't give in to the temptations of the wiki, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's
So
a lot
there's-
more players like that. Chat, what do you guys think of this? Actually, I want your input on the messaging system, if you guys
Yeah.
don't mind, as far as what I'm saying here about what do you guys like about the messages? Obviously, it wasn't. I think that it was a pretty big flaw to have the big pool. I don't know if you. It sounds like you might agree with this, of having too many messages and having it too hard and long to decipher things. But that aside, when the pool was smaller, what do you guys think of the messaging system?
Too much is always better.
I like that there's so many messages, but I think it just should have been cut up in
I know,
difficulties.
yeah,
that's all. I don't know. I don't know if-
And actually, to be honest about expectations of what you'll get Friday, the crafting system will be chopped way back in early access, just because these issues I want to resolve them with y'all, right? So we'll be starting with handcrafting, right, and some basic recipes. Probably not linked to the messaging system yet, right?
Gotcha.
So yeah, yeah,
All right, cool. So in short, as I would suspect, I think crafting is something that's going to change a lot during the early access period, right?
yeah, yeah. We will be experimenting with lots of things and how things people feel about it. And in that case, there will be a few situations of, okay, let's throw this whole thing over and try this way. So it's like, sorry, wiping all your recipes, right? Let's try this again, right? Like, so, yeah, early access is work, right? If you want to,
All
if you
right.
want to come with. I like the meta of the message system. I'm going to fight desperately to preserve that, right? The meta game of your messages between rounds, regardless of what it does to people's definition of rogue. Um,
I'm just looking at what people are saying about the
yep,
messaging stuff.
yep,
So
me too.
there's a few people like me, it seems, which is good to see. Looks like there's a couple people thinking just having a toggle to be like, nah, give it all.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that personally. I bet you probably don't think that's a good idea either. I guess. What do you think about just having a unlock all recipe option?
Um,
If
no,
you even go that way. But,
no, and I think, and to be honest, that's another philosophy. I think that is the territory in which mods live,
yeah,
right?
yeah. The qual mod
I
does
think,
have that option. I don't know if you're familiar
right.
with that, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
just
right.
pop unlock all the
And
recipes.
that's the type of that's the type of modding that I think modding should exist for.
Yeah,
Hi, whoever made this game doesn't think this is a good idea. If you think it's a good idea,
go mod it.
go crazy, go nuts, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
All
agree.
I
I,
ask,
I agree.
you
Yeah,
know,
I think
all I
it's.
ask is that you don't crash the game and then come running to me and tell me it's crashed and it's my fault.
Yeah, yeah. You mod it, you know,
Yep.
it's gonna be hard to get help.
Yeah.
Use qual. Point out how qual allows you to click through the. Oh yeah, that was pretty amazing of the qual. But the quality of life, the SOT stacks is all like hyperlinked in a sense. I don't know if that's the word, and pretty
Yeah.
awesome. Like you can click on an item and it goes to like all the recipes that it can be used in, and you know that was a
Yeah.
really awesome quality of life thing. But
Yep.
anyways, just point that out right now.
Yeah. The SOT Dex is something that will evolve over time during early access as well. That's a perfect example of something that's not critical to gameplay, but needs to evolve and change and will crash the game as you fiddle around with it. Um,
Yes.
yeah. Actually, could I ask them a question
Let's hear it. Yeah, I just asked
about
the one,
message
so go ahead.
about messaging?
Yeah.
And now I have to remember the question I had. Something came up we were talking about, and I honestly wanted their opinion on. Oh, I've read so many messages so fast I lost it again. Okay, if I remember, there I go on. I'm old. Move on, and I will if I remember. Was it a group of messaging? Um, Yeah, I mean, on Steam, you'll find that I will try and dial into discussions a lot. So I will start, like, probably today, a discussion like, do you want it to be decipher per word or decipher per message? Right? Because that's an easy piece of feedback, if you see what I mean, right?
Yeah. So chat, do you guys like the whole partial That's what you're asking, right? You guys like the partial
Yep,
decryption of messages, or would you prefer getting the whole message if you succeed?
yep. Decryption by word or decryption by message is the two choices, right?
And I already gave you my feedback because I do
Yep.
like getting partial messages and guessing as to what the recipe is. That was a
Yeah.
big part of the enjoyment for me as a new player. Oh, so
Yeah.
many years ago.
Well, sometimes these questions are hard. It's like, if you phrase it, do you like falling off your bike? The answer is no, I don't. Do you like a bicycle as opposed to a three-wheeler? Yes, I like bicycles. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
That's a good analogy for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the thing. Is that it wasn't really a question, so that wasn't the thing. Part of the trouble I have with people's reaction to recipe systems is, like I've said on the board before. The game is designed so that the recipes are an advantage, not a necessity, right? So the example, the kind of beat up metaphor I use is like, so say you walk to the grocery store every day for groceries, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a kilometer. No big deal. And one day I've left my Lamborghini outside with the keys in it. And you're like, can I drive to the store? I'm like, hey, dude, yeah, we're buddies. I'm sleeping on your couch, even though I have a Lamborghini, so that's weird. But anyways, here are the keys. Drive to the store. So you drive to the store, and it's cool. And it takes you 5 minutes instead of half an hour. And then I go home, or I couch surf because I've spent all my money on this Lamborghini. Yeah, you can tell I'm a writer because I just start descending into minutia. But so the next day you walk out the door and there's no Lamborghini, and you're like, I can't go grocery shopping. I can't. There's no Lamborghini, right? And it's like, dude, you went grocery shopping like 300 days in a row before the car, right?
Right.
It's the same thing with, if you see this, it's the same thing about crafting. It's right. There are situations where making more bread is awesome, or even a lifesaver for a run, right?
Yep.
But the runs were and still are not going to be ever designed that you have to, right? Right. Like a recipe is your counter to luck. No offense.
Yep. Well, I don't. The way the Pit 1 was designed, there's one recipe or two that really sticks out as almost like you gotta have it. The one big
Almost,
example
right.
is, I don't know, maybe like you got it like almost, or you gotta get lucky. Like if you
Yeah.
didn't, like for example, is the energy backpack. I remember when I learned that you can make energy backpacks, I was like, what? You can make these things? And I didn't have a win yet. And then once I learned that you can make energy backpacks, that was kind of like a whole new game, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but yeah, it like winning without being able to make energy backpacks is like, holy moly, is that ever difficult? But
I won't disagree that craft, like, which is still though what I said, crafting makes life easier, right? Hiring, to be honest, that's why when I first did the game, I didn't have seriously mode, right? Because
yeah, of course, yeah,
you know, there you couldn't craft an energy backpack, right? And
yeah,
you know, and when I would get to the end, it'd be like, okay, and then it's like, okay. I mean, that's what people say, like, oh, it got hard. It's like, actually, no. As crafting got more advanced and more evolved, the difficulty levels had to be created because it actually did make the standard game easier than I had planned, if you see what I mean.
gotcha. Yeah, like yeah. On the harder difficulties, if you, it's almost impossible to win with if you use zero crafting. But the progression is there, and I like that. Like play on normal, get some messages, learn the game, learn the learn the recipes, and I think it's a really neat progression for sure. It's good.
Maybe we could make the recipe, the message reveal on easy be binary, and then in the other modes be word by word. Right.
What I don't like about that is that someone could spam easy and unlock all the messages, and then like, okay, move on.
But I can't.
Yeah,
I can't. It was like the great debate about punching things to raise your melee. Right. It's just like, if you're the type of gamer who wants to sit there punching something for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's up to me to give you therapy, right?
But there, the thing about that, if I cut in quickly, is there's a cost to doing that. It costs your food, right? So as long as there's a cost to doing it, and then I think that's fine. But,
I think playing 20 hours on easy is its own cost. But
for some people, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't be having a good time probably.
But, same here. It would drive me quite mad, but
yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Here's a random idea, but what do you think about encounters or mini bosses of sorts?
Yes, that is definitely a place we are going.
I think that's something that Pit 1 would have been, not that it's missing it, but that would have been sweet to see. And the fan mod has a couple of those. I've never really played the fan mod much, but the fan mod has some apparently pretty interesting things. I think there's like a cow boss of all things.
Right. And And there's your perfect example. It's like, yeah, 5 years after that most of the work was done, someone really busted their chops to create a little version of that could run in the game, right?
Yeah.
So that gives you a clue as to why it wasn't there in the first place, right? It's just the engine and the scripting just didn't lend it to us, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The other reason for this game is that our scripting ability is, you know, 30-fold what it was in the original, right?
Nice.
And we could do stuff like that. And again, we can make, for people who don't like, it's like the ability with 3D art to turn a monster into a boss monster is a week of work, right?
Yeah.
For a sprite, that's a month, right? Easy,
Really?
right? And
Wow.
even then it's gonna look goofy, right? You know, from one angle or another, right? And you have to spend time to fix it. So,
Yeah, Taramo's got a point. Well, when did you start playing Taramo, actually? Taramo
yeah,
says, I spent something like 150 hours in the first pit and I discovered like 20 recipes. There's something wrong, definitely, so I finally cheated them on the wiki. Yeah, and when did you start playing? Because I feel like I never felt that strife for the main
yeah.
reason that I started early. But I'm curious when Taramo started playing because I think that's a big factor because the messages kept getting piled on and et cetera, et cetera.
Right. I'm also wondering what he means by discovered. Does he mean he started 20 different messages or completely deciphered only 20 messages? Or 20 recipes. Yeah, okay.
So you might have deciphered probably 50 or 100 messages.
Messages,
Like
yeah. Yeah. That's
So,
I would also like to add, I will be, it's not like as if I have to ask someone. Um there
yeah.
will be alternate methods of getting recipes as well
Ooh,
in
cool.
this version of the pit.
Ooh, that's
right?
exciting. I like that.
Yeah.
Trumbo says you started in the gold, and that's kind of what I suspected. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if you started playing gold, then I totally understand people thinking the message system was absolute, like, what the heck's going on. But people who started playing before that, then, the
Yeah.
pool of messages was smaller, and
Yeah.
perhaps the recipes were more significant because it was like the starting and those significant stuff was already in there. For example, like an improvised lockpick is a big one because if there's less messages, then you'll most likely unlock that one, and also it's an easy message to unlock. So, yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
I'm rambling a little, but yeah.
No. But anyways, yeah, for Teramo, that's to partly address that. That's why I said I've been thinking about alternative ways of discovering recipes outside of a message sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, computers should have a blueprint for something sometimes, right? That makes perfect sense. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, can I ask Grognosh a question?
Absolutely.
What do you mean by changes to the level up system?
There's also another one while we wait for Grog to get back to us. There's will there be new characters to play in the future? Like I'm not. It's a little vague. Like what characters? I don't know if you even want to spoil this. Who's available in Pit 2 right now?
Right now, you're better off than you were to start with because you'll start with the medic as well, right?
Ooh.
So you have 4 characters to start with.
Cool.
Yeah, and there will be just about everybody from the original pit will make an appearance sooner or later. And there will be a big burst of again, if we get as far as the Mind Games expansion, then you'll have your burst of people there. The expansion after that, which is the goal of everything, will widen out the character use space quite a bit, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Assuming there won't be psionics in there for a long while.
Nope, we're doing the same progression, right?
Okay.
This to Mind Games to the only thing that would be different is that probably early monsters who had psi before you did will now probably have proper psi, as opposed to what happened in the pit is that we had monsters like the telekinetic fist of the Hopkinsville
Oh yeah, the Hopkinites
guy,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Hopkinites. Oh, I'm so sad that those in-jokes never get picked up on. I'm so sad.
We get some of them, but yeah, I remember we were talking about a bunch of them last time. And
Yeah, the Hopkinsville goblins. Look it up, people.
I don't know that one. I don't know that one.
Yeah. But for instance, his TK fist is when he first appears is just hacked into the game, right?
Yeah, it's more of
And
a weapon than a
yeah, right. Than a
yeah
psionic
than a
ability,
psionic
right?
ability. Yeah.
And then when mind games comes up, then people have that ability and stuff like that. So again, we will be much more building in the groundwork first, right? Because we know exactly where we're going with that, right? The Brave New World will be the huge expansion after Mind Games, right? And that's where we're going to, encounter all sorts of things, which is why
Nice.
I'm not putting a timetable to that because that's going to open up quite a few kettles of fishes.
Yeah, even mind games itself is a big thing. Just introducing a spell system is something. Like that's a huge change of the game.
Oh, every time you refer to Psionics as a spell, a bit of my heart dies.
I said a spell system, just making a comparison.
So
Yeah.
I'm an old science fiction nerd, right? Magic is
Yeah.
magic and science is science.
All right. Well, yeah, Grog didn't get back to you, but is the leveling system going to be very Pit Infinity / Pick One esque?
I don't think there was any difference between the two games, was there? I think they're the same. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
think so. For the most part,
I
yeah.
have I have no mind. I'm completely happy about that. Um, if we're talking about changes, as in, will you be able to earn special abilities at a certain level? That's on the table, right? But for me, that's less of a change and more of an addition. If you see,
Yeah.
you know,
The Pit fan mod had something pretty interesting. I barely played the Pit fan mod, but they had like characters had stamina.
yeah,
So like certain, especially the warrior type, like the
yeah.
less psionic characters would have some sort of stamina bar where they had reuse abilities. I actually don't know much, but that's a kind of I thought that was a pretty good idea for sure.
It's interesting. I'm not sure how approachable that would be for new players, right? Which is why I noted it, but never didn't put a lot of, like, because you have to realize that that's the difference also between designing and modding, right? I mean,
Yeah,
modding, you're making changes for yourself, basically, to start with, and other people like them, right?
yeah,
When you're designing, you have to spend a lot of time thinking about people who aren't you.
right.
Um,
Yeah,
and it's never completely possible, but you try really hard, right?
yeah, yeah. What at the end of the day, I think a good, at least I would think this is a good idea, is to be like, what type of player am I going after, and never go away from that, never stray from that.
Right,
Because if you
right.
try to like, okay, beginners, I'm gonna appeal to the beginners or people who are not really big roguelike fans and just kind of want to have fun. And
Yeah.
but at the same time, that means the people who are more serious about roguelikes will suffer. It's like
Right,
it's
right.
hard to appeal to both of them, and I feel like if you try to appeal to both of them the whole way through, we might
Yeah.
it might be too much in the middle. Maybe, I don't know. What do you
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on that?
you can, blanding your design vision is always a problem, right? I mean, for me, like I said, there's two poles. There's what went wrong with the flight sim community, right? As
Yeah,
I've
okay.
mentioned before, right? I'm not that I'm beating them up. They're just a perfect example of watching a genre kill itself over
Yeah,
15 years, right? And they're coming out of it, which is cool. And then you have, on the other hand, you have, I don't know, we could all pick any given series game that we liked where the first one was amazing and it just got, in order to spread its audience, the sequels just got blander and blander and easier and, till we
yep.
didn't want to play anymore. So I think that is, those are the two poles when it comes to that. I wish we had a way of setting your play level that wasn't using words that are so loaded with, for lack of a better phrase, toxic masculinity, right? Like
Okay.
someone like, no one walks proudly into a room and says, "I play on easy mode." Right? It's like, oh, sorry to hear about your junk, dude. And that's ridiculous, right? Like, I really wish we could find a way around it where there was just, a mode that we could name that would be like what you like, but not, I'm not as tough as the other dude.
Well, when it comes
Because
to
I
the
think that. Go
sorry
ahead.
if I may jump in. It's like when it comes to the like my stream and the pit. Whenever someone comes in here and says they beat it on normal, I'm still like praising them as as they should.
Yeah.
Because beating the pit on normal is like that is a feat. Like that is one hell of a feat. It's not easy at all, and so like it demands praise no matter what difficulty they beat it on. So
Yeah.
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 But that's
Grog got
that's
that.
just like that's my take on it. My little
no.
community's take on it, anyways, for the most
Yeah.
part.
Like I said, it's a hard one. Like I wish, I don't. Yeah, and in some ways, I did design the pit that way so that in any way you beat it, there was pride, right? Like even on easy, people get creamed on that game all the time.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, things happen for sure.
So yeah, right. Like you and I might waltz through it. It's like, yawn. I can't imagine playing this more than once. But I mean, like I said, I just wish I had a name for that mode that wasn't the word easy, right? like,
Yeah. Just do the actually, this would be worse. Probably just say just do like the Wolfenstein thing or the Doom thing. Like,
yeah.
what's like the easiest level on like Wolfenstein? It's like, can I play Daddy or something like
I was going
that?
to say like that. Yeah, yeah. Speaking of the joys of toxic masculinity.
Yeah, can I play
exactly.
Daddy? That's like a perfect example. Yeah.
Oh yeah, story mode. That's an interesting. Like I said, in my career, I had the Sierra producer who wanted it to be called Dad mode, right? Dad mode, where the
Right, you
game
mentioned
played
that last
itself. Yeah,
Just numbers for difficulty, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
yeah,
I don't really care about difficulty names
yeah.
myself, but I can understand where some people, I don't know. On the topic of Pit fan mod, I really feel like one day I should actually play it and steal all their ideas and steal all the good ideas and throw them your way. Because yeah, there's some crazy
Well, I
stuff,
mean,
crazy interesting stuff in there.
we've looked it over. We've looked it over a lot, like we look at over all the big mods because that represents people's opinions.
Okay.
Some stuff in it is very cool. Some stuff, some choices I wouldn't have made, right?
Oh, yeah, of course not. Yeah.
Like like the toggling on and off of all messages, right? It's just like, like that's neat as a post experience, user experience. Sure, that's great, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as a designer, you don't put in a toggle to take out an entire
Yeah, I
part
don't
of the
think so
game,
either.
right?
Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree. I agree.
right?
Yeah.
And again, you leave that for the mods because you know that a modder will do that at some point,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And if someone
That's
really
great.
wants to do it, then they do a little research
Yeah,
and a little
yeah,
downloading, and it's done. You know.
yeah. And sometimes some mod stuff is some of the attitude is strange. Like the first time I bumped into that was back on original SOTS, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we made SOTS, and here's the thing, Tab, that because I'm noticing there's also a weird bit of blowback. It's like, oh, like why aren't you putting everything in the original game? It's just like, well, dude, time and money, right? Like you can't put everything in one game. So we've entered a world where because like bigger companies abuse stuff, like your DLC is available the first day, right? People are now like suspicious of all expansion DLC stuff. It's just like, yeah, no, you're right. We could have worked on it for like another 6 months and then charged you even more money because people got to eat during those 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Or some stuff or when you're doing a product, you do as much as you can because you have to aim at a closing date, and then you leave stuff out that doesn't make that first cut and you put it in later, right, as expansion. So in the original SOTS, there was just only one kind of point defense, one or two, I think, point energy, right? But eventually there was room there for point defense missiles, right?
Right.
Clearly there was room for them, which I got to them in the first expansion. In the meantime, someone had modded them in, which was cool, but it's just like, I should get credit for this in the credits. Like, I get, well,
That's
yeah, okay, weird. It's like,
maybe if it's something more. I mean, it's kind of like it's not like it's an obvious one. I would guess. I mean, like it's like I don't know the game at all, but it sounds like it's an
yeah,
obvious
it was, yeah,
path to go to, right? But if
right, and either way, it's just like, yeah, you're making art out of somebody's art, right? It's like me putting a bigger rack on the right? It's just like, cool, if you're into that. I'm not sure that means my Mona Lisa is better, right? If you see what I mean, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Like the mod stuff, I think the mod community is really cool. My favorite mods are total conversions, right? Like I'm most impressed with that, right? So if somebody had modded the pit into like Walt Disney characters and had
Right,
done it on
right.
their own, so they couldn't be sued. It's just like, cool, dude, right?
A fine idea.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I think we can just about wrap it up here. But so chat, just to reiterate, was it next Friday already? Yeah.
Yep. Next Friday,
6 days from now, guys, we can try
6 days from now.
early access Pit 2. It's gonna be
Yep.
amazing. I'm super hyped, and that is one heck of a surprise. So yeah, any final thoughts or any final comments?
I just want people to know that it's going to be work, right? This is early access, but and Lord knows we could use the support. But if you want to be supportive and buy it at a cheaper price, and then not futz around with it because it's not all done, that's totally up to you, right? But the purpose of this early access is to make a better game, and more importantly, a better game with you guys, right? In this case, this is early access where basically you guys get to be publishers, right? Like,
That's badass.
yeah, in the sense that in some sort of where movies where all the little things form into one giant thing, like a reverse Starro, right? It's like, yes, I'm a giant nerd. I'm such a nerd that I know Starro was supposed to be a Justice League villain. Um,
You're going way past my head, Macrod.
yeah, King of the Nerds.
I can see that. I can see that. Badge of honor.
You got time for a 30-second joke anecdote?
Oh, I got tons of time. Yep.
Okay. Being that King of the Nerds, I was at my older sister's birthday party a few years ago. And it was our thing where you're hanging around with a bunch of people who are not really your friends, right? They're your sister's friends. So, so they're just talking. There's a lot of introduction talking. And some woman looks across the table at me and goes, so what do you do for a living? Because they're boomers, right? They're old enough to be boomers. I'm like, oh, I run a game dev studio, right? And she goes, oh my God, so and so's little brother is a nerd. Like really loud, like real nerd shaming, right?
Yeah,
and I just look at her very dryly over my drink, and I say, "King of," actually.
Nice, spicy.
Yep.
That's a spicy reaction.
Yeah,
King
nerd,
of the
nerd
nerds.
pride.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell nerd pride. But anyways, yeah. No, the message to everybody is that yeah, it's going to be work, right? And I won't make any bones about that. It's like, do we need as many people as possible in it? Yep, we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if it's going to be weird for you or whatever, then okay, right? We understand, right? And helping, like I said, helping is going to be this bothers me. Could it be that, right? Posts full of ennui about how it can't be what it was. It's just like, that's not as helpful, right? Like, you're welcome to it, but I mean, it just, in the scheme of things, what we need is like, there's too many purple monsters. Okay, that's good, right? Like, that's useful.
Yeah.
But you see what I mean, right? Or stuff like, I don't find the smaller monsters challenging in any way. It's like, okay, good point, right? Like, let's bring up that bar. That sort of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. So what's the best way going forward for us to provide you with our feedback?
I would say Steam is probably it, right? It looks like we've passed the day and age of directing people to our own boards. I mean, our own Kerberos boards are there, and it'd be great if you want to come there and talk. I mean, I check those a little bit more often, right? But the Steam discussion page is the place to go. I mean, that's where right now I'm concentrating. No, Matrix, you're not called out. It's okay. I've had way more ennui filled messages than yours. You're groovy, dude.
Yeah, Macron sees a lot of that. Just go look at the just go look through the Steam forums.
Yeah, already it started. That faction has started on the Steam page, right? And I'm fine. I'm trying to find the genteel, constructive way of saying not helping.
Yeah, that's good. Macron's adapting, guys.
That's right. I can
He's
learn.
changing.
Yeah, I made that point.
Some of your remarks, no, not to be offensive, some of your remarks in the past just like raised eyebrows. Like, holy moly, this guy is not messing around.
Well, yeah, in the sense that I'm in this industry because I'm a gamer, right?
Yeah.
For ages. I mean, that's what kind of cracks me up a little bit, and I don't say it, when anybody tries to lecture me about, is it a roguelike or a roguelike, right? It's just like, Son, I don't really know how old you are, but the first time I played Rogue was literally on a mainframe computer in 1978, right?
God damn! Did you really?
Yeah.
That's
So,
that's
so,
hardcore, dude.
and yeah. So I don't want to be mean, but I'm just like, I can't convey how few foxes I have left to give about definitions since then, right?
That's
It's
pretty
just
bad.
like,
Yeah, as far as like, I've had that conversation with a lot of people too. Of like,
yeah,
people who don't really know the game, it's just
yeah.
adamantly saying that it's not a roguelike, just like, or it's not, roguelike is I don't know,
I
ADOM
know, right? It's just like,
or other
yeah,
roguelikes, and I'm just like, actually, like when you compare ADOM to this, I would say this is way closer to Rogue than ADOM among a lot of other games. It's like not many, there are some, but as far as a game that's close to Rogue, there aren't that many that are closer than the Pit. It's pretty
like for
close.
instance, you know why that dreaded early moon bear appears every once in a while?
The dreaded Moonbear.
Right. There's every once in a while there's an early moon bear which people freak out. I played this game for the first time. I walked out of the elevator and a moon bear hit me in the head and killed me instantly.
Okay,
Like,
yeah, sure.
and that occurs because there's a tiny chance that a moon bear will appear in the first few floors, right?
Yeah.
It's there purely because in 1979, I remember the three stacked up queues moving across the dot matrix and going, "Oh my God, what's an ogre doing on floor 4? I'm going to die."
Yep. Yep. Rogue
Yep.
was not very forgiving either. Not at all.
No,
Nope.
no, and it was really primitive, and it was all ASCII, and it was wonderful. I mean, the reason why the pit exists is because God, that game was so, and it was so fun just to play. I mean, it played really fast, so you could play a trillion games of it, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, dead floor 4, oh, dead floor 6, dead floor 7, oh, dead, right? We got killed, and we loved it because it was back in the day.
Yep.
But the point is, yeah, I'm not saying that means I'm right about everything. It just means, you know what? We can ease up on the rogue definitions because been there, right?
Yeah.
old old man, been there, right? Like I love the fact that there are multiple definitions now, right? Like it's great that rogues now have flavors and stuff like that, but the definite like definition wars are just inane. It's just the game that counts, folks, to be
Yeah.
honest,
True that.
right?
Yeah.
If a mechanic makes the game bigger, then frack other people's definitions, right? That would be my advice to anybody designing, right?
Yeah. It's
Like
just like why put yourself in some box? Like there's no reason to. Who
yeah,
cares?
just for internet arguing purposes.
Yeah.
Trevor.
Who cares?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly, right?
some talk.
Do the game, be the game. So,
Right.
yep. So yeah. So anyway, Steam. I will be constantly like if y'all, like I said, wanna. There's already a half dozen concept discussions I've opened up there. So if y'all want to go in there and start adding your points of view, that would be fabulous, right?
There you go. Maybe we should drop a quick
would
link. You got the link at hand?
Oh, I used to be able. Then Steam started hiding the links for things because they are full of evil, 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 evil.
I'll try
Oh
to look it
no!
up too.
Oh, the weird thing that the
Actually,
browser version.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
There we go. Discussions. Okay, discussions. Now, where's that button that turns up
Is this
the
is this the
URL?
Pit 2 discussions you're leading us to?
Yep, yep.
Okay, cool.
So you are smarter and younger than I. So.
Nice. I actually haven't
Oh,
looked at the Pit 2 anything yet, other than
yeah.
the trailer.
So yeah, if you could go there really quick and post a link, that would be
Yep.
fabulous.
Got it.
Oh look, someone already posted a topic, starting one about chunking decryption blocks for message systems. So there you
Nice.
go. We can
That's what
respond to
we're
that.
talking to already.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll be the place, and that's where I'd like to grow the community, right? Um, and to be honest, by my point of view, that's a mistake I made with
Let's see if this works.
Pit Infinity, as I didn't work harder to make that more of a community for discussing stuff. So when it petered out, the early access usefulness petered out. So I would like to keep it vibrant from the start.
All right, there's the
Oh,
link.
oh, that was it. That was the response to salty. Yeah, part of the reason is like a gamer. So in a gamer, when someone comes up to you and you're salty, you're just salty back, right? Like that's how I've always been, because that's sitting in the cafeteria in university, right? Sort of thing, right? It's just like,
I think
it's like, yeah, it's like
it's a fair reaction, absolutely.
it is. I always want to make people, if there's been an agenda, it's like, hey, you know what? I realize being a consumer of art can be frustrating at times, but the people making that art are usually on your side, right?
Yeah.
So don't be a dick to them, right? Like,
Yeah. Don't be a
just
dick and don't be an enemy, you know?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And if you do, like, why is this? If someone, like, if you were making, like, if you were serving something to someone on a plate, and they said, "Why is this the stupidest thing I've ever seen?" Like, if it was your restaurant, you'd be like, "Hey, why don't you bite me and go to some other restaurant?"
Yeah, you
Right?
get kicked out of the restaurant immediately,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
and also you would be, if your mom was there, she would give you crap for being rude, right? Like,
Some moms, yeah.
yeah.
Some moms might stand up and clap. I don't know.
My mom was a saint. Oh no, no. My mom's rule was if someone's being douchey to you, then by all means let fly, but don't
Yeah.
let fly first. Right?
Okay.
That is the rule.
Very nice. All right. In closing, what's the best way for everyone to support you? What could they do to try to make Pit 2 the best it could be?
Um, get in the early access. Spread the word on as much as possible. Make your opinions known constructively during the early access. Um, and also realize that we are heading towards a much different future, right? The second expansion, which has already been named, Caligo, will be a massive change in a good way to your Pit universe.
Ooh.
And I'm already dreading the it's not a rogue anymore conversations.
Who
But
cares?
yeah, but as we get closer to it, of course, more details will come out. But yeah, I mean, the best I can say is that this is the start of an evolution of a game, a start of a new game, and it starts where the original ended, basically in that same place. So perfecting what was right about the original. And we're also trying to bring this game to new people, not by dumbing it down or making it real time or any other things. We're trying to bring it to new people by, you know what? Full modern graphic update. You're right. It is because it is 2021. Um, and we're also trying to we love you guys and we need your guys' help to find new people like you guys, right? And that's really how this game is going to survive and thrive, right? We're looking forward while bringing you all with us, right? Ooh, I
Sweet.
like that. I like that recipe, Matrix. That's a good recipe.
Vibrant stream community. Yeah, I see that
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
All right.
Now come up with a recipe for necessary sadism, which was my favorite part of the last interview we did. Okay, so that's it. So please, if you can and you can afford it, please join early access. Get as many of your friends to do it, and be aware that it's a work in progress. Right.
Fantastic. All right. I appreciate you very much for coming on my stream, Mecron, and catering
Appreciate
to
it.
us and giving us that spicy, spicy news that the Pit 2 is coming out on early access for everyone on
Yep.
Friday. So make sure you guys
Yep.
check it out, wishlist it, buy it, try it, share your thoughts, offer suggestions, and yeah, you'll hear from
Yeah.
us en masse next Friday.
Yes, and that would be great. And if you still want to do that pie buddy mission streaming, sorry, Pit Infinity. Sorry, Pit Infinity. Don't banish me. Sorry. Pit Infinity. I am. Yeah, I'll be available. Just let me know ahead of time when you
Sounds
want to
good.
do it.
We'll try to work something out again.
Are we going to be allowed to swear though? Because I do swear a lot when I play that
Oh
game.
yeah, you can say anything on my
Okay.
stream.
Okay.
Honestly, there's no nothing needs to be held back on my stream. Really, that's the way
And
I
if
look
I
at it.
yell, and if I end up yelling, I swear to God, if you step in front of me one more time, I'm going to set your bloody beard on fire. Please forgive me. I just have rage issues with it.
You're hyping it up real good. I'm excited. All right, good stuff.
Okay. Take care, everybody, and thanks for all your support. We
All right,
appreciate it.
very well. Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye. All right, there you have it, guys. Oh, that was awesome. That was a great little discussion. What do you guys think of the little discussion with Mecron? Did it you look more hype than Pit 2? I know there's a lot of skepticism out there, but just hearing his enthusiasm and the fact that it just sounds like it could really go towards what we're all hoping for it's going to be, like a really close Pit 1, but 3D and awesome to play and smooth, and who knows. It's Definitely not going to be what we want and what we imagined day one. But I think if we work together and provide good feedback, I think it's going to be sick. I think it's going to be good. What do you guys think? You guys got hope? No hope? Whatever happens, happens? Next Friday, by the way. What the hell? It's supposed to be December. Or like us, like, you know, maybe November or something. But it's like, what is it? That's October 22nd? Didn't see that coming. I thought December was like, oh, that's good. That's like 3 months from now. And here we are 2 months earlier than what was hinted at. That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. Scared that early access is too early? Yeah, perhaps. Perhaps. But it's really early access is its own philosophy for everyone, right? So for Mecron's philosophy, I don't want to speak for him, but it seems like what his plan is to just throw out there and share what he has so far and build upon it really, really hard. Some other early accessors, when they go early access, it's like, okay, this is pretty much done. Let's just put it out there. Just make sure there's no big bugs. It's like a bug fix for them. And that's not what Mecron's early access is all about. It's not about... Bug fixing isn't the big part of it. It's content. It's content and polish. So, yeah. There's other early access philosophy, like Cogmine's early access philosophy, which is stay in early access forever on purpose and just say that the game's always changing and always evolving. So, really, the expectations of early access are really like, you gotta like curb your expectations because not everyone approaches early access the same way. So I suspect that what we see on Friday is going to be pretty primitive, but and not even close to the final product. That's what I suspect. So, but we'll see. We'll be able to see it evolve. I myself, my own philosophy is early access. I don't like early access. I stay away from early access for most products. Some products it works and some products it don't. And also sometimes the developer's early access isn't what everyone else's early access. Like if I never touched early access, I would have never played Cogmine. I would have never played, Luck Be a Landlord, because those are they make early access work, and it's kind of like part of their strategy, So I don't know. Yeah, new pit facilities. That'll be cool. That'll be interesting. Star Citizen. It's not like a MOBA, MMO or something. I know it by word. It sounded pretty cool, but yeah. Big scam. Different approach, yeah. And sometimes you burn out on early access, and you never really experience a good final product. So for my biggest example is Darkest Dungeon. Like Darkest Dungeon was sick. Like that's a great game, right? I played it in early access, got through it, everything they had to offer in early access, and I was just not interested in touching that game again. And then I look back on it like years later when it's like really done, and I'm like, man, this is so much better than what I had originally played, and like I missed out, I missed out and suffered myself by playing early access. So I won't be playing Pit 2 early access that much. So I'd be very surprised if I did, just because I'm a bit like anti early access as far as I don't want to burn out on it. I don't want to be stripped of a great final product. But I will be playing it, and we can work together to provide some feedback, and we'll poke in every month or so. Is probably what I'll be doing, but we'll see. Play it by ear. You fell for the first round of Star Citizen Kickstarter? Yeah.